Yes.
I'm Henry Lutaya, I'm a journalist, but I'm also trying to document the experience of the NBI.
Yeah.
Go straight to the question. What do you think has been NBI's contribution to the culture of dialogue, trust, confidence building?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm called Dr. Callist Tindimugaya, Commissioner for Water Resources Planning and Regulation in the Ministry of Water and Environment. Actually, I've been involved in NBI activities for quite a long time. I was for close to 15 years. And maybe if I can respond to the question I have raised based on that experience, that NBI has done a lot, first of all, in bringing the countries together so that they can talk on a common ground. I do recall that initially, first of all, even people didn't know each other. You meet as countries, but you tend to find Uganda is seated alone, Kenya is seated alone, Tanzania is seated alone. But over the years, the interaction among the teams increased for a number of reasons. Number one is the trust improved in the sense that we started now talking as people who know each other, who can trust each other, and all of that came about through the opportunities provided by NBI. NBI created an opportunity that we can have a shared learning. You know, sometimes when you have different information, then you tend to believe that maybe somebody is deceiving you. So we had capacity building events where people would be given trainings in confidence building, communication, then of course also on water resources analysis, then also on policies, environmental situation. So when you are discussing, for example, reports that have covered the whole basin, and you realize that you now know the basin beyond your national boundaries, then you tend to realize that actually you have a lot in common. You get to know that you cannot address your problem as a country without involving the others. And then you start creating a common platform where all of you work together to ensure that you address those common challenges. And of course, what NBI also put on the table was also leveraging capacities. When we started, some countries were highly experienced, others were at a lower level, and you know when you are getting people who are not at the same level of understanding, others will fear, maybe I'm going to talk and others criticize me, or I'm going to expose my ignorance. So NBI really did a lot to build the capacity of the country. So you find that people are talking at the same level. Of course, the disparities will be there, but you are bridging the gap so that when you are discussing an issue, all countries discuss the issue. But previously, we find, for example, Egypt knows it, other countries don't know. So when they are speaking, say, let me keep quiet, otherwise I might say wrong thing. But as capacities are brought up, then if somebody puts an idea on the table, you challenge it, or you bring another perspective. And through that, then the engagement continues. But of course, also the culture of learning from each other. Once you have collaborative mechanism and you trust each other, then you learn from the others. And because of that, then we started actually cooperating even beyond the Nile Basin initiative. Sometimes you'll be there and say, we are working on irrigation. Have we developed a policy? Somebody, yes, you have developed a policy. Then you say, share with me. Another one will say, we are working on dam safety. It seems you are already advanced. Can you share with me? Tell me how these things are done. But also through the interactions, some countries realize, the country X is progressing. Why don't we also work and cooperate? So I must say that the NBI created many opportunities for engagement, which were not there, many opportunities for capacity building, and many benefit opportunities for knowledge sharing. And as a result, then the cooperation grows. Because once you get parties who are going to cooperate and they are at different levels of understanding, different levels of capacity, that cooperation cannot last. It would be one relating it, for example, to a family. You marry a wife, but you're at very different levels. One is highly educated, the wife has not gone to school. There will always be concerns with maybe somebody thinking that it's because you're educated that you are telling me this. Or somebody who's educated thinking, this person is doing this because she didn't go to school. But also at the same level, the engagement flows, and to me I think that's what NBI has brought on the table. It can only get better. And if one looks back, clearly, but those are the benefits sometimes which are not quantifiable, and sometimes we say there are benefits of cooperation, but can you quantify them? And to me, I think that's something people need to do. I've been asking NBI to do that. Can you try to get some value attached to some of these? Although sometimes it is difficult.
How do you do that?
Of course, some of them could be like proxies. If, for example, one can look at things that have been happening, like when countries cooperate, when people cooperate, then there are a number of things that happen. Could even be flow of goods, could also even be flow, like for example, get students coming from Kenya to study Uganda. If Uganda was at war with Kenya, or Uganda is always quarreling with Kenya even over the water, you probably will not do that. It's not easy, but one can look at where were we before the cooperation, and what are the things maybe linked to the cooperation on water that have improved over the years.
You're talking about benefit sharing. Eh?
Benefit sharing, but also even before you even look at benefit sharing, quantifying the benefits, so that you say, because of course you share the benefits after you have quantified them. And sometimes, to me, one of the things I think that needs to be done better is to try and quantify those benefits, to try and estimate the value of those benefits that are not quantifiable. We used to be accused of, people would say, oh, you are traveling again, yeah, you enjoy flying. And yet when you go for NBI meetings, you are spending the whole day in meetings, you end at midnight. But some people think you are just going there to enjoy. But why are you there? You are making sure that the country's interests are protected. Now, when I attend a meeting and I argue a case for Uganda, maybe for oversharing of water resources, and Uganda's case is considered, I have not basically delivered water, I have not delivered the power scheme or irrigation scheme, but that's part of the work. So, and these are the kind of things I think need to be brought on the table. That there are those processes that are key for you to deliver those other higher level benefits. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome.
The other question is, what do you think is the contribution of NBI towards better monitoring of the basin? Okay.
Now, of course, Nile Basin Initiative, it is dealing with water. So we are talking about basin is water resources. And of course, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So one of the things, of course, NBI, and I'm happy that it came in as an important issue, is basin monitoring, but also undertaking strategic analysis. Because, you know, sometimes people will...
Maybe before you go to details, to a lay person, what does basin monitoring mean?
It means basin monitoring. Basically, we are trying to know how much water is available today, next month, the following month, over the year. So we for example, water flows in rivers. We want to know, for example, the Nile, we want to know how much water is available at Jinja. But this water is not available in the same quantity throughout. Now, if you are going to use water at Jinja, you have to know how much water is available for you to know how much you can use. But once you start using water, then it will not be available. Further downstream below Jinja, maybe at Karuma, the amount of water reaching there, if you are taking water from the river, will be less than what is there. So basin monitoring is basically say, can we know how much water we have in different locations of the basin and how it changes due to human impact use, but also climate change. Through that, we'll be able to guide developments. And of course, we're also monitoring the quality of the water, because some areas, the quality of the water is poor. For example, if the amount of water in Uganda reduces, it means the amount of water reaching South Sudan will reduce unless you have contributions from there. Then the water reaching Sudan will reduce. The water reaching Egypt will reduce. So basin monitoring is about having those stations that determine how much water is available in different locations, so that you can know so much is in Ethiopia, so much is coming from Uganda side, then in Sudan, so much. So if you are planning for the use of the water, monitoring is important. So countries have been doing their own monitoring, but now we wanted to bring it to a higher level, so that then at the NBI level we can have that monitoring across the basin. If Uganda is monitoring, it will not go to monitor in South Sudan. It will not go to monitor in Kenya. But once you bring an organization like NBI, I want it to have a higher level view so that even when we meet, it will say, Uganda, the amount of water you are actually releasing in South Sudan is less than what it should be. What can we do? Or the amount of water available in Uganda is limited. So Kenya and Tanzania, you need to release more water. So it helps in decision making. That's basically basin monitoring. And so what NBI has been doing, it has developed a monitoring strategy so that it says, where do we monitor and for what? And it has mobilized the funding to set up monitoring stations at different locations. And this monitoring station will now be sending data to the Nile Basin Initiative and the countries involved. If, for example, a station is in Uganda, the data will come to Uganda and go to the Nile Basin. If it's in South Sudan, it will go to South Sudan and the Nile Basin. So at the Nile Basin level, they will have an overview of how the water resources are changing. And basically, that's one key responsibility of a basin organization like NBI, because they are there to provide strategic guidance on availability of water, on amount of water being needed, and how it is changing over time so that it can support these investments. Yeah. And of course, NBI has also developed a decision support system using this data that is being collected, but plus also using data to help analyze and check and see what is happening. The decision support system, of course, is a system that enables decisions to be generated from the data that is collected. And that's why NBI has moved forward to start doing strategic analysis. So basically, the strategic analysis, we want to know, like one of the things, for example, they have been looking at is how is irrigation water demand changing over the basin? Now, you don't only want to look at Uganda, you want to know how is irrigation changing and what is the impact of irrigation on the water availability. For example, Egypt does a lot of irrigation and Sudan. Ethiopia has started, Uganda is starting, but we want to get an overview because irrigation takes a lot of water. Now, if irrigation is increasing, we cannot just look on. We need to say, how do we manage this irrigated water so that you have efficiency? So the analysis they have been doing, again, to inform decision making. They are not there to criticize anybody, but they are giving information. Say, within the basin, country X is not irrigating. Country Y is irrigating, and the next 10 years, the amount of water they need for irrigation is going to exceed what is available. So it also helps that country, but helps all of us to look at it globally. Another thing, for example, the strategic analysis.
Maybe before you go to that,
right?
How are countries responding to the information that is being generated? Now,
as of now, and I think the point you have raised is very important, NBI has done a lot, and some of the things we have been putting on the table, and I think even personally have been demanding for is, it's not enough to just to do good work if this good work doesn't go to inform decision making. So the good work has been done, many things have been done by NBI, but I must say that the dissemination now needs to be scaled up. Of course, you present to the countries, through the ministers, through the technical advisory committee, maybe even get a workshop to disseminate this, maybe call the media to disseminate. It's a good step, but it's not enough. So the issue of dissemination needs to be scaled up through a number of things. First of all, one of the things we're also suggesting is have deliberate effort to support countries to utilize the data. Because again, as I told you, countries are at different level. You may have a country that can pick it and use it by itself, but there will be countries that need some bit of mentoring, some bit of babysitting to get. So one of the things we're saying, telling NBI is that as you are looking for money, look for money, not only to continue doing the analysis, but get as part of the analysis, continue, but have some money now to intensify the utilization. Now, how do you do that? By, for example, getting a Uganda, for example, maybe having a project, and you are supporting Uganda to utilize that information to support the project better. Of course, it requires resources, but we are saying that's the only way you can ensure that the countries use it. The other one is, of course, continuous engagement. Having one workshop is not enough. You need a critical mass of people. You can get the media, you can get the technocrats, but get as many people as possible. Again, It requires time, it requires resources, but you don't have option. So a lot of work has been done, and to me, one of the areas of work of NBI is to get all of that has been done and have it adopted and utilized by the countries. And that's when the countries will know that actually NBI is adding value. NBI has done a lot, but a lot of it is not known. A lot of it is known by people like us who have been there for a while. Yes. You get somebody who has been there for 2-3 years, because even the staff, because I also use it to ask the staff, I say, you are at you have a problem that you could easily repeat what was done a few years ago. So that bit of documentation, of course they have tried to document. Then we're also saying that the NBI should have an induction program. So that, because NBI is managed by the ministers, but the ministers are changing. Technical people are changing. In the countries they are changing. Can you have a deliberate induction program? When new ministers come, can you give them a bit of brief? Yes. Rather than leaving a minister, you say you are a minister. Many of the people will come and say, what is my role? Technical people. So that when people come, you brief even the technical staff of NBI. Don't just assume that because somebody is technical, he knows. You have, so we had requested them to develop those packages for induction. Okay. So that when new people come, you know you are going to take them through what has happened over the years, including also say, these are the things you have done. These are the things you have done. So when somebody is there, because frankly, if somebody is representing a country, and you are going now and they are starting from now, you will not even know what to ask for. Mm-hmm. Yes. But through more awareness, through more engagement, naturally, even when people are coming from the countries, they will have known. Okay. Yeah, so that's the bit of dissemination, in my view. Okay. It needs to be given more attention.
But you as the ministry, are you disseminating this information? Yes. to the ministry staff?
Actually, if anything, by the way, where I will not talk about Uganda because I'm Ugandan, to say, if we look at the level of utilization of NBI products, for Uganda, we have done very well. Okay. Very well, because, and normally, maybe because we are hosting NBI, but I think as Uganda, we are always proactive. Okay. And we are moving. Sometimes when NBI is studying on something, maybe we have already, even at the country level, advanced on that. And because of that, our engagement has really been good in the sense that we add value to what NBI is doing because of the experiences we have. When NBI developed the decision support system, Uganda embraced it. We utilized it to do our national water resources assessment where we quantified the available water in the country. We also used it to develop a national water resources strategy. And then the decision support system has been adopted. Right now we are developing a water information system, and at the heart of that is the NBI decision support system. So we are institutionalizing it so that we don't look at NBI product, we are using it on a day-to-day basis. We're also preparing plans at the catchment. We are utilizing the decision support system and the tools, the modeling tools in that regard. Now, when it comes, for example, to other products NBI has got, like the analysis. Right now, NBI is doing analysis on looking at the cascade of dams. What impact one dam will have on another. Again, Uganda had already embarked on that. Now NBI is coming to reinforce us and help us to look beyond just the boundaries of Uganda. So we have moved, of course, I can't say we have done it all, but I think we're on the right track. And we are, now, once we adopt this, then we share them with the rest of the Ugandans. Normally, when we are doing our work, we do our work in task teams. So you find that even when we are doing work, there is a team from Ministry of Energy, a team from Environment, a team from where are working on that. So we have done, but again, we still have a lot. We are also culprits. In the government, generally, our dissemination levels are not as high as desired. Yes. If you compare us, for example, with NGOs, with the private sector. Yes. But we are conscious of that, and that's why we are trying to partner with the others. For example, right now we say there are things we cannot do as government. We need the media, for example. There are things we cannot do. We need NGOs or private sector. We do recognize that there are complementarities if we get others on board. Yeah. So we continue to improve. But we do at least appreciate the work NBI has done, and we think that it should be able to transform the basin.
Okay.
Yes.
Challenges ahead, perhaps?
Challenges ahead, of course, for NBI, certainly the expectations are very high. Of course, the political climate right now, it is still a transitional institution. That's challenge number one. And when you're a transitional institution, your power is limited right now, so the funding situation is affected by that transitional nature of the organization. Of course, NBI has been suffering from country contributions. Some countries are contributing, others are not contributing. But the main challenge is value. What value are you adding for the country to say yes? So I think the challenge the NBI Secretariat and of course the governance structures have is to continuously show value. And so show value to the shareholders, the countries. Otherwise the shareholders will reach and say, well, we wind up with this company.
Do you think NBI can survive without the support of donors?
As of now, no. Why? Because we are depending on country contribution. Even country contribution alone, even if it was all corrected, it would not be enough to run its But of course, NBI is within our development country context. Which country can survive on its own without donor money? So you wouldn't expect if a father is struggling to survive, how can a child who depends on the father stand on his own? So it's the general environment under which we are. Even everybody knows that NBI cannot survive, even if it was generating money, it wouldn't. But I think what the donors are asking for is show commitment. If we give you 70%, that is cover 30%, but don't expect us to cover 100%. Yeah. But of course, we shall always have the dependence on the donors, until we become rich countries. And then the basin can get the money they want from the countries. But it will take time, but I think everybody would desire to have that kind of situation of independence.